I now recognize Ms. Lesko from Arizona for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over 1 million Americans died. Millions more got sick, some with long-term effects from COVID-19. It is absolutely vital that we determine what happened. What did China do? Did people within our own government cover up information because they had professional conflicts of interest or for political reasons? The ranking member says COVID-19 should not be a political issue. I agree, but with all due respect, sir, I contend that it is you that is making this a political issue. You said that the only reason we are having this hearing today is because of President Biden wanting to get to the bottom of it. With all due respect, are you kidding me? You have been in the majority, the Democrats have been in the majority for the last 2 years, and there has been no hearings on the origins of COVID while you were in the majority. My first question is for Mr. Ratcliffe. Mr. Ratcliffe, in your testimony, you wrote, "The challenges that I and other senior Trump administration officials encountered while in office include legitimate concerns about the closely held sources of our intelligence and the sensitive methods used to obtain it, as well as illegitimate roadblocks related to professional conflicts of interest and partisan politics." Can you please elaborate on the conflicts of interest you encountered?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Good to see you again. I referenced in my opening a report from the Analytic Ombudsman who found that person, by the way, is a career individual. It's not a political appointment. That person is charged with refereeing disputes about assessments. And it was based on his investigation that when it comes to the issue of China, some of our intelligence was being suppressed because there were analysts within the community that felt like that some of that intelligence may be used by the Trump administration in ways that they disagreed with. And that is clearly inappropriate under analytic judgment standards. And again, that's not my opinion. That's the independent opinion of the Analytic Ombudsman.
My next question for you, Mr. Ratcliffe, is you mentioned in your written testimony that CIA analysts on China were reluctant to bring forth the information. Do you think you ever got all of the information that they uncovered from China related to COVID-19?
Well, I think that intelligence is such that we're constantly gaining new information, even where we have limited sources and methods. I do think that there were headwinds to get information. I endeavored to be made aware of as much as possible, and ultimately that's what led to the process where I worked with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on the State Department fact sheet to put out the information about the coronaviruses, their similarity to what became COVID-19, researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology becoming sick, and the other information that was included in that fact sheet so that that information would hopefully drive further declassifications of intelligence to the American people and would drive congressional hearings going forward. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened the way that we anticipated.
Thank you. Mr. Feth, in the January 2021 fact sheet on activity at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which you helped to write, it mentions WIV researchers who got sick in 2019 with COVID-like symptoms, which we've talked about. Can you tell us more about these sick researchers?
I can share the view that I think that the sick researchers are probably still today the most potentially probative part of this story that we are yet aware of. It's been suggested already that the passage of time doesn't help in finding a confirmed answer here, and that's certainly true, and that's probably true also with respect to some of what we'd want to know about these sick researchers and what tests were taken and what material and evidence would have been available from the autumn of 2019. But still, what we know is that there is additional information that the U.S. government has that was not able to be specified at the time in the fact sheet that was released in January of 2021. But part of the hope in doing the fact sheet, as Director Ratcliffe just noted, was that it would bring interest and, frankly, pressure and help make the case for additional disclosure, including by the Biden administration once they came in, interest by those with subpoena power elsewhere in Washington, because it certainly, bowled us over, frankly, to find in the autumn of 2020 that there was, after all, U.S. government information about a cluster of illnesses in that lab, which is exactly what you would expect to happen if the origin of COVID came from a laboratory accident where a worker became ill knowingly or not, and then took the virus out into the community and had it emerge in Wuhan, a place where there's really hard to imagine any explanation for a bat coronavirus emerging for the first time on Earth unless it walked out the door of the lab.
Thank you very much for all of your testimonies, and I yield back.